Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for May the 14th, 2021. This is episode number 58. Our top stories today: Ford's full-size electric pickup truck is officially named and teased ahead of next week's reveal. Subaru says Solterra will be its first electric vehicle and gives us a sneak preview image. Mercedes unveils the EQT concept, a very posh minivan for the well-mannered masses. I'm Dominic Yoni, Inside EV's forum moderator and Inside EV's editor. Joining us today is Tom Moloughney, Inside EV's editor and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge with Tom Moloughney. We also have Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, available on all your usual podcast platforms. And we are delighted to be joined today by EV advocate Laycee, aka Miss Go Electric. She runs her own YouTube channel called, aptly, Miss Go Electric. To find her channel, just search Miss Go Electric on YouTube. Check it out, subscribe, and tap that bell icon for notifications. All right. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the panel and audience. Before we talk about what's been charging up in our driveways this week, Laycee, can you tell us just a little bit about your background and what you're doing with your YouTube channel?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of give you guys a little briefing about what I've done over the past year is I've actually worked for automakers and for dealer groups and other agencies to educate the public on their products for product launches. So when a new automaker is coming out with a new product, I'll go out in the field and educate either the general public. I've gotten into dealer training a lot too, so I'll go to dealerships and educate their sales staff on that new product, and sometimes do training with the OEM employees as well. With the pandemic, it created a lot more opportunity for me to do what I do for a living online. So I created the Miss Go Electric brand because, to be honest, there aren't a lot of female voices in this space that have experience working directly with electric cars in that industry.
Yes.
And that's what I'm passionate about anyways. And I really, my aim over the past 5 years was to keep choosing to work with more EV brands in order to get my message across of like trying to get more people to adopt this technology. Because as you guys know, talking to people, there's still so many questions, a lot of myths that you have to, navigate. And I really believe in this technology and I think it's the future. So, I try to stick to doing all EV automakers now as much as I possibly can. And there's not a lot of female voices. So hopefully I can get more of a female audience to join in, because that I feel is an underserved audience as well, and show them how user-friendly and how great this technology is.
Sure. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about what's been charging up in our driveway. So, Tom, I understand that you had a loan from a friend this week.
Yeah. So I got a call on Monday night from a friend of mine who runs like a car sharing service. He has a business that he rents cars on Turo, and he has like 25 Teslas amongst other vehicles. He has probably 50 vehicles that he rents out on Turo, and so he reached out to Polestar and said, look, I'm thinking about including your vehicles in my fleet. Can we work out a deal? So they said, well, before anything, here, take one of these for like a week. So he drove it for, almost a week, and he called me up when he had 1 day left. He said, I'm done with this. He goes, I know you could probably make some content with this. Would you like it for a day? And I was like, heck yeah, even though I was getting ready to leave on vacation. So I was able to grab it for 24 hours and do as much as I could with it for 24 hours. I did a 70-mile-an-hour highway range test, and I also recorded a full 0 to 100%, or no, actually I stopped at 90% DC fast charging session on the video. Yeah, there's a picture. Martin pulled that up for me as I was doing the DC fast charge test. So we don't have any of these videos up on Inside EVs yet. They're going to be up pretty soon. But I'll tell you a little bit about it. So I did the 70-mile-an-hour highway range test on same course that I always do on the New Jersey Turnpike. The Polestar 2 has a 78 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Of that, 75 kilowatt hours is usable. It's the same as the Volvo XC40 Recharge, same size battery capacity, same usable. They let you use, nearly the entire pack. So I was able to drive it 226 miles, but I actually went 233 miles. Let me explain. I had a harrowing experience. It was the most stressful I ever felt during one of these 70-mile-an-hour range tests that I do. I've gotten really good at timing when I should be pulling off the highway and plugging in, because I drive in loops. And the goal is to pull into the charging station when you're at zero state of charge. I don't want to leave any range on the table. So, it's a constant calculation as you're driving, because the range estimator changes and so forth. I've got to say, should I go to the next exit and make a loop, or go to 2 exits? To make a long story short, I'm figuring that I'm going to pull up to the charging station about 3 or 4 miles after the vehicle hits zero state of charge, which is kind of perfect for me, because you can usually get a couple miles out of it once you hit zero. Except this time with the Polestar, I had traveled 226 miles. Now, the EPA highway range rating for the Polestar 2 is 222. So I'd exceeded that. The combined EPA range rating is 233. So, and I'm at 226 miles, and I'm still at 2% state of charge, and the vehicle begins to have difficulty maintaining 70 miles an hour.
Oh.
And I'm on a highway. Right. So, I've got the accelerator pushed all the way down to the floor. I'm trying to push it beyond the floor, and it's slowing down. So I'm like, okay, this isn't good. And there's not a good shoulder, and there's cars whizzing by me. Even at 70, I'm one of the slowest cars on the highway, so I managed to get off at an exit, which is an exit before the charging station. But there's some back roads I can travel. So I'm like, okay, I plot it out, and I start going at a slower speed. And I'm like a mile from the charging station, and there's tremendous road construction, and the 2 of the roads are completely closed. And I can't even get around it. I have to turn around and go way back. So now I'm crawling. I have the accelerator's pushed all the way to the floor, and I'm going 20, 25 miles an hour on roads that are 40-mile-an-hour roads. And I'm just creeping. And every time I could see a slight incline in the road, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm not making it, because even slight inclines. If you drive an electric vehicle, watch your energy gauge, sure, as it goes up and you're using more energy, even if it's just a slight incline on a hill. Anybody who rides bicycles knows this. Ride a bicycle up even a slight incline, and you're working twice as hard. So the car's working twice as hard. But lo and behold, I made it. I just rolled into the station, and it ended up with 233 miles, the EPA combined range rating. So I drove it 7 miles past the point where it was kind of not really safe to drive. Right. And but I can't give it 233 miles in our 70-mile-an-hour highway range rating. Right. We have to end that when the car can no longer maintain 70 miles an hour, which was 226 miles, which is, as far as I'm concerned, a very good showing for the Polestar. This wasn't the Polestar's fault. The only thing I can fault it with was that even when it still had a 2% state of charge, it started going into reduced power mode. Now, a lot of EVs do, but I've never had one at 2% state of charge that I can't maintain 70 miles an hour on the highway. Usually that, really comes when you really get down to zero. But as Kyle always reminds all of our followers here, all the time, you can't trust the state of charge. Right. Especially when it gets really low like that, the car could be wrong. The car could think it has 2% and it's already at zero. The car could think it has 2% and it has 4%. The battery management system, it's kind of a guess of where your state of charge is. Now, I know people don't like hearing that, but it's true. And that's why you hear even people with Model 3 saying, damn, the thing shut off and I had 4% state of charge. No, you didn't have 4% state of charge. The car thought you did. The BMS calibration came off. So, so that was like, I was white knuckled. And to make matters worse, this was my friend's car that loaned it to me. If this was a press car, I would just, call Polestar and say, hey, pick your car up. It's in the Target parking lot in Clifton,
Hey.
and I wouldn't feel bad about that because listen, that's why they give us these cars, so we can write reviews and everything. We're a very valuable asset to the company. So I wouldn't feel bad, but I was like, geez, like he's got to have this back and I've got to tow it and I'm leaving for vacation in the morning. And so I was like, as I'm driving, I'm like, just make it.
White knuckles.
But we made it. And,
Right.
and then we did the DC fast charge test. Interesting thing was, now, the Polestars have been having issues on the Electrify America network. This is well documented. And if you're one of the early people that you have a Polestar, the Signet units in particular on Electrify America, they just don't work with Polestar or Volvo. Luckily, where I live, they're mostly BTC Power or ABB. So I was able to plug in and it worked perfectly. I'd say perfectly. The car's supposed to charge at up to 150 kilowatts, and we've seen videos, especially in Europe, where it's taken that for a short period of time, but it has taken it. I couldn't get more than 100 kilowatts, but it held it for a really long time. I don't have the recording in front of me, but I think it held it till over 50%. So it was a really nice long straight line, and I got zero, and this was a true zero. This was like negative -1% state of charge, to 80% in 47 minutes, which isn't terrible. I mean, it's actually not bad at all. I mean, that's what a lot of vehicles that we test are right in that 45 to 50 minute range, 0 to 100%. Now, remember, most OEMs claim 10% to 80% when they give you their figures. And we're going beyond that. Most people would not be plugging in at 0% state of charge, but we like to give people the whole recording.
Can I ask, Laycee, what's your comfort zone on the percentage? Because Kyle I'm like 5 to 10%, and I'm
10%.
nervous.
Yeah, is like I'm like nervous about 10%. So that is like usually but you know what? Honestly, I just plug it in my navigation and it tells me where I need to stop, and that's good enough for me. I just make sure sometimes I have to choose the other stations because I want to have a little bit more buffer. But honestly, once I select a station, if it does say 10%, it starts to go up to about 12 or 15, naturally because of more efficient driving. But yeah, my baseline is pretty much 10%. Like I will not go past that.
I'm somewhere around there. Yeah, I think I'm a Kyle. Well, and Tom now. Well, you're part of the Zero Club, Tom. You were a long time ago, but like they'll do it. Like, he does it every time, and it would scare the life out of me. Like I don't get a thrill out of that at all.
Either.
I don't get a thrill, Martin.
You liked it a little bit.
Normal to me. I've done it so many times where I've probably driven 20 or 30 EVs down to 0 and still like just driving like Kramer at the end of that the Seinfeld episode. But this time I was like surprised, like I'm driving along and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute here. Like I'm pressing the accelerator. We're not going it. Matter of fact, I'm slowing down and I'm pressing the accelerator further. This is not good. There's cars whizzing by me going 85 miles an hour. There's a shoulder with like debris on it, broken glass and stuff. I'm like, I'm not pulling over there, put the hazards on and just like putt along. But luckily there was an exit about a mile down the road and I was able to use the nav to do the back roads. One of the things I found interesting is, and Laycee, I watched your video on the Polestar 2 where you had trouble with finding charging stations. That happened with me.
I was in LA. It's the place for electric vehicles, and I was going up the PCH, driving the Polestar up and down there. And, it took me to several places where I was like, well, wait a second. I can't even get in here because it's a corporate park and they won't let me come in here and charge, but it doesn't say that in, the Google OS.
Yeah. So the thing about the Google OS, so I spoke, hey, Google, navigate to Electrify America, station. So it does the navigation. And when I get off the highway, obviously it had to reroute me. And luckily, when I hit this traffic, the road closure issue that I had, I looked at where it was taking me because I had to figure out, okay, how do I now get around this? And the Polestar's in-car navigation was taking me to the incorrect address. It was taking me to a place that was actually 3 miles from the actual Electrify America charging station. So at that point, I just shut off the in-car nav. I mean, I had already shut off the air conditioning and everything, the radio, and like, you know, and then I just used my phone to navigate me to the Electrify. But if I had just let the car reroute me, I would have been stranded because, I mean, I had like, you know, hundreds of feet left of range, you know, at that point, not thousands when I made it to the station. It just rolled in it. Like the fastest I could go was about 25 miles an hour.
So Volvo navigation, is that basically like Google Maps? Because Google Maps will do that too.
Android
sometimes,
system.
right?
Yeah, it is Google Maps.
It's Google Maps.
It's right, because sometimes Google Maps will mess up and send you in like circles around. It's like,
but Dom, here's the weird thing. When I used it, when I said to the car, navigate me to Electrify America, it took me to this point. When I picked up my phone and said, navigate me to Electrify America, it took me to a different point that was 3 miles away. I don't understand that.
Right.
And then I replicated it when I was at the charging station charging. I was like, what went wrong here? So I asked the car again, navigate to Electrify America. And I'm sitting at Electrify America. And it made me go like 3 miles. I'm like, yeah, this is just, I don't get it.
Need some calibration or something.
You know, it's normally very good. I use Google Maps for everything. I'm trying to use more Apple and stuff.
That's
just
exactly
because,
what I was thinking. Yeah.
You know, Google, you know, they know everything about me, but it just is that and Waze, which I think they own, don't they? It seems the best. Laycee, how did you find the OS? Because of course the Polestar and the Volvo haven't just got Android Auto; they actually run on Android. So how was that experience for you?
Yeah, I actually really like it because, like you, I am like all in on the Google sphere. I have everything Google. I have a Pixel. You know, I really liked that interface, and I love the ability to be able to. I know some people have like privacy concerns with it, but it's like they already know. Okay.
Yeah,
they know.
They're listening. They're listening.
That toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yeah. So like, I absolutely love it. I love the integration. I love the Google Assistant because, I mean, as you guys know, we go into these cars and manufacturer after manufacturer, the voice commands are not that great. So for once, it actually understands what I'm saying and it picks up on it first try. So I really love that. The interface itself, I love the big screen. I love the Google Maps system. I didn't have any issue like you did, Tom, but I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan of the Polestar 2 in general. I think it's such a great option. It handles beautifully. I think the interior quality is very nice, and so I'm really glad now it's out in the wild. Now I have heard there are some of those charging issues that you had mentioned, Tom, and what's interesting is actually recently I went down to Electrify America's headquarters in Reston, Virginia. I'm about to launch that video pretty soon, but I went to their Center of Excellence facility, which is where they do all the testing. And I was able to interview some of the executive team there. And while I was there, actually, all their automakers come in and do their testing. And I know for a fact by talking to them that they were actually in the Center of Excellence doing testing to figure out how to solve that issue from the charging standpoint with Electrify America. So they are definitely working on getting that solution figured out. And I'm sure it's coming soon. And hopefully it's something that, you know, now that these cars offer over-the-air software updates, it'll be something that they can just send to the car and you can upload that as a solution.
I agree. And from what I understand, don't quote me on this, but it should be resolved in about 2 weeks. That the issue that's going on with those systems, but it's disappointing. It's disappointing. And Laycee, I've been to their Center of Excellence a number of times now, and so what you're saying is exactly right. You might even have seen, but obviously you can't say it, the prototype electric vehicles from manufacturers that aren't out yet, because when we go there, sometimes they're there also. But yeah, the cool thing about it is you see the manufacturers working with them. And here's something that I want to defend Electrify America a little bit about, because a lot of people are hard on them, and many times, and rightfully so. That there's some legitimate issues still with the network. But when a new car gets introduced, say Polestar, the manufacturer has to work with the charging networks, and they can't do it like, okay, our car's available for sale now. Let's figure out if there's any charging issues. That has to start months and months before the vehicle hits the market. And if a manufacturer, say Polestar, for instance, and I'm not making any claims here, but if they only began engaging with Electrify America a couple of months ago, because like, okay, we're 3 months out now and let's make sure everything works, that's not a quick enough time to iron out every possible charging issue on all 3 of their vendors. They have 3 different vendors. They used to have 4, Electrify America. They got rid of 1. So now they have vendors from 3 different companies. So each company has slightly different equipment, and it needs to work. That's why we're seeing right now the Polestar doesn't work on the Signet units, but it works fine on BTC Power and ABB units. And that brings me to a question that was asked in the comment section. And it says, Tom, remind us, does Electrify America put many different manufacturer units at each location? No, they do not. Each location will have all the same units. And it's mostly regional. But there is some variation within region. So if you pull up to a site and it's a Signet site, you're not charging your Polestar. You can't even go to a different unit. That's not how it works. They're all the units have to be at the same site, and it makes sense because if there's a problem with the unit, it will be unique to that brand. That manufacturer would come out to repair it, and you wouldn't say, okay, repair number 1 station at this location and number 4 state. No, they'd want to do a service update on all of them at the same location. So that's what makes sense. And one other thing we didn't really fully address it, but we had somebody asking a question that Kyle looks a little different this week because he just tuned in. All
the hairs on my head instead of my face. So.
Definitely an improvement. Let's put it that way. It's a huge improvement. But so we have Miss Go Electric this week. I don't know. I don't even remember if we really went into why we have her on as a guest early, but Kyle is on this massive off-road road trip through rural Montana. So he's totally off the grid, and we hope he's okay. It definitely would be like Kyle to get himself in some kind of trouble or some kind of remote location and run out of power or something. So we hope he's doing fine. But when he does come back, I'm sure we're going to have some really, really, there's some pictures that he's tweeted out, some really cool stories of what happened during this week.
I saw you use that some missile silos, so hopefully he doesn't get detained.
Yeah.
Hey, so Laycee, you're a Tesla Model S owner, and as well you have we want to talk about what we were driving this week. So I don't think you had a media loan this week, but you are a Tesla Model S owner, and you have a sort of an electric motorcycle bicycle called the Sur-Ron. So do you want to tell us a bit about your ownership experience a little bit?
Yeah. So kind of interesting that Kyle is on this adventure because I plan on going camping this weekend and doing a little adventure. I have a
sweet
2016 Model S 90D, and I'm strapping my Sur-Ron Light B XX on the back of it to take it up north. I live in Michigan, and zip it around on the dunes and out in the national forest out there. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I've had the Model S for years now, and it's such a great car. Specifically bought that one because it has the unlimited supercharging associated to the VIN. So for me, I do a ton of road trips, and so it's very well worth it to invest the money on something like that. And really haven't had any issues other than door handle, but obviously that is a common problem. They just came to my driveway and replaced it real quick, but other than that, it's been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, you'll see video there of my
you put pedals on it.
Yeah, I put so taking this it is very much, it looks like the Sur-Ron looks like a e-moto bike, like a dirt bike.
Right.
and I put pedals on it because obviously I'm not going to destroy trails and stuff but I want to be able to, if someone's looking at me going by,
right,
make it look like I can pedal and that it is an e-bike to some extent. My plan is to hopefully not have to do that too much and be able to take it up north. So this is kind of the first rundown of attempting that and getting it on the bike rack and taking it up there. But yeah, that's kind of just like more of a compliance thing, like just.
Right. How hard is it to pedal?
Oh, it's not hard at all. No.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't really pedal. I just use the throttle. So
right. But if you wanted like just pedal, if you were like stuck for whatever reason,
it goes really slow. Yeah. It's not hard, but it does go slow.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really excited to get it up north and take it around up there and zip it around. And I'm going to be shooting some video of that, of a full EV camping weekend, and bring some of my extra battery toys that kind of shows off that lifestyle that you can even do it in Model S. So,
right. And that Sur-Ron too it's not like a really pokey, slow machine, right? You can it has different settings. How fast does it go?
Yes, up to 50 miles an hour. So
That's
yeah,
nice.
It's fast.
It's like a little motorcycle, basically.
It is. Now in some states you can put a plate on it and drive it around. Where I'm at, I don't. I just trail it. So there's a little offshoot near my house that I just go down, and then I'm right at the park. So it's really convenient for me.
Nice.
But yeah, some people actually plate them and take them out. I wanted something that I could replace the scooter with. So that's what I opted for. I was shopping around for a really long time, and just so happened that this limited edition came up last winter. And so I got it right around Christmas time.
Nice.
And so I haven't gotten to drive it too much. I've taken it out in the snow a few times and it's really fun. But I'm really looking forward to this summer, taking it up north.
Cool.
A lot.
Right on. Hey,
I'm getting a Delfast 3.0. It's what it's called, electric bicycle in about a month, and that also has a top speed of 50 miles an hour and a range of up to 200 miles. I'm sure not at 50 miles an hour. So I'm getting that for a little while. It should be fun.
Yeah. The reason I went with the Sur-Ron was because, well, the weight of it, when I removed the battery, it's just about 100 pounds. So I could put it on the bike rack that I have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already pushing it that I have a bike rack on the back of the Model S. It was just for like regular road bikes and mountain bikes. But, I'm pushing it here. So this is a real trial for me this weekend. But that was one of the reasons, and also it was a little better price point. But the Delfast was definitely on the list. Those are awesome.
I'm not buying one of those. I'm getting it as a press loan. Right. I have a specialized Vado SL as my personal bicycle, which is an electrical bike, but it's it's really meant to pedal with e-assist. It won't power you if you're not pedaling. So it's made for you to, to use it as a proper bicycle. But, it gives a tremendous amount of assist going up hills, which I live in a really hilly area, and I need it now. I'm not 20 anymore, and but it's fantastic. It lets me go wherever I want to go, because even the steepest hills, it'll get me up them. So that's cool. But I'm looking forward to playing with the Delfast.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Laycee, Bill B asks, how many miles are on your Model S?
76-ish thousand.
Okay, it's just a baby.
Yeah.
All right.
That'll go a long way yet. Long way to go.
Yeah, all of it is highway, so.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
Lots of road trips.
All right. Hey, so let's get into some news for the week. So our top story today is a pretty big deal. It's all about Ford's electric pickup truck. So first off, as we reported to you here last week, it will be called the Ford F-150 Lightning. Lightning was a sport version of the pickup truck back in the day, and now that name's being repurposed for this all-electric version. And we've also learned that it will be revealed next week on Wednesday the 19th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, that's kind of late for a domestic reveal event for East Coasters, so I don't think it's too far of a stretch to assume that Ford is really targeting truck buyers on the West Coast with this. particularly, of course, California. The debut is set to happen at 3 different locations. So it will be projected on screens at the company's world headquarters in Dearborn, Michigan, also in New York's Times Square, and somewhere on the Las Vegas Strip. They weren't very specific about that. Somewhere on the Las Vegas Strip. Of course, Inside EVs will stream it live on the site, and I think we're going to have some pre-event conversation there as well. So tune in ahead of time. The screen at the Ford HQ is particularly huge. It's like 68,000 square feet, which, if you do the math, means that I expect the screen to be almost as long as about a football field. So, did I mention this is a pretty big deal? Okay, it's nuts. Did you say you saw it, Laycee? I'm getting it ready.
I saw photos of it. I'm really bummed I'm not going to be in town to actually stop by there and see it. But yeah, they're like plastering the white projection screens all over the front of the building.
Right.
So it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. So
right
I'm really excited for it.
Right. So the F-150 has been the best-selling pickup truck for over 40 years now, I think 44 years. And this electric version has to convert a lot of conventional truck owners to be successful. So that's why when the news broke, I tweeted out, this is arguably the most important electric vehicle reveal since Tesla Model S in 2011. So unlike then, the automaker doesn't have to blow minds, but it does have to change them because it's a different audience, really. If it can do both, it will have a big hit on its hands. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this. So
am I showing the right thing? Is that their headquarters? Is that
okay?
Yep, that's
so
it.
So they've been covering up the windows.
That's it.
For a projection. I mean,
wow,
that's pretty cool, right?
It is awesome.
To project something on the side of your building to cover it up for an event. That's really cool.
And just real quick, a couple of years ago at the train station when Ford bought that, they had a huge light show that projected onto the full train station, which was amazing. So I'm assuming it's going to be something of this scale, similar, that is just going to really wow us.
That's a launch. Wow.
Right. So about this, so Laycee, tell me I'm wrong about this, but or at least give us your take on the F-150 Lightning and maybe what you hope to see in the way of capability.
Honestly, it's one of, like you said, it's such a crucial launch because obviously you're going to get those people that are shopping for the Rivian because of the lifestyle, the Cybertruck because it's the Cybertruck. It's just, a tank. But this is a huge deal because the F-150, there's just so many. I mean, the culture of these people that have these trucks is they talk about their trucks and they want to make sure that they're always the one that's making the right decision, even if it's an inactive decision. So it's like, okay, well, if you're on a job site and you're working with all power tools with battery power, and I have something that plugs in, they're watching to see, well, are you not going to be able to get the job done? Should I be converting to that? Did I make the right choice in choosing a plug versus a wireless system? So I think that the mentality there, it's super important because word of mouth in the trades is going to just instantaneously get around, like within 2 days, I think, of people owning these trucks. So they really got to hit the nail on the head with the F-150, and encouraging because of the whole Lightning nameplate. And I know some people were just like kind of like, oh, it's so cheesy or whatever, but obviously it's got some history, and especially on the performance side of things, that's really indicating that it's going to be pretty beefy when it comes to performance. But I'm hoping to see, I was pretty wowed by the Power Boost hybrid and just the functionality of, the technology that they're offering with it. So I hope that they have the same level of wow factor with it.
Right.
I think they just don't, they can't drop the ball here. They have to at least meet some standard expectations. I really hope the range is going to be, is going to be good, but that is one I'm watching very closely.
What kind of number do you think is going to be?
Realistically, I think they'll probably hit 300. for like the base lane. I'm hoping, because you have the Rivian that's going to get up to 400 plus miles, the Cybertruck obviously over 500 miles. So I really think Ford needs to at least get to that 300 mark to make it worthy. Otherwise, have some other technology that I've heard a lot of talk about the whole generator and the tailgate type technology that they might implement, but I feel like they just have to be able to get to a point where people aren't going to be poo-pooing it a lot in the trades. And they're going to be able to say that, it doesn't have to be perfect off to the start, but it better be compelling enough for these people to make the switch, because this is going to be a really hard market with those traditional truck owners to completely shift their mind to an electric product, in my opinion.
That's right. It's going to change minds of people who aren't necessarily EV oriented. It's just like, it's all kind of new to them. And, you better give me something that can compete with what I'm driving today. Maybe it better be better than what I'm driving today, besides, like cheaper to fill up.
Mm.
And the total cost of ownership will definitely be a conversation in that for some people who are using this strictly for a work vehicle. So
can I ask, is it going to be a proper launch? Because we've seen, when things get unveiled, we've seen different interpretations of what a launch is. Like sometimes all they do is they show a really good 5-minute glitzy video.
Right.
What was the one that was unveiled on the Super Bowl? They're like, "Oh, we're launching our vehicle." It's like, well, that's just lots of flashing lights. And then there's obviously Tesla events, which are crazy. And then, so is this going to be, do you think we'll actually find out material things about the car? Look, I'll be honest, it's 2:30 in the morning for me. Do I need to set my alarm and get up and watch it? That's what I'm asking.
Wow. That's a hard one.
Tell me, Dom.
2:30 in the morning. I mean, you can. I would just sleep in and catch up because
yeah, but I'm an EV
I like
nerd.
Sleeping.
I like to know these things.
But I will say this. So I believe that there may be already some ride-alongs happening. So I think we'll have firsthand impressions of what it's like to be in the thing, and I expect they'll be positive.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a conversation happening with the media already in terms of this vehicle. Like sometimes it's complete silence until the event, and then you get to ask questions. And I think the fact that Ford are working with, writers and broadcasters and the media, it shows a sign that this is a whole package launch, that they're pulling all the bits of the company, PR, marketing, the guys that we work with to start those conversations. So I'm really hopeful.
Right. Yeah. And this goes on sale, and production starts in Q1 of 2022 at the new plant there in Dearborn. So I forget, they have a special name for the EV plant there. And it'll be on sale mid 2022. So that's like about a year from now. So, or probably maybe a little bit more. We'll see. So
yeah, Leonard's pointing out that I know a good number of truck owners are waiting for the right EV truck to switch. Some are holding off upgrading their ICE trucks for something new, for fear it will be worthless in the future. And that's going to be the case with almost any electric vehicle right now, because things are advancing so quickly that, we're seeing that, when a new product launches in a year or two, it's kind of old tech, but you're not going to be able to escape that. You get that with your phones and things all the time. But as long as it's capable, one of the things I really want to point out is that, we can't fall into this trap of being concerned that the F-150 will be Lightning will be everything for everybody, because it's not going to be. There's Ford sells about 1 million of these trucks a year. If it is right for 15% of their F-150 buyers, that's 150,000 trucks a year. Right. So, the first version of this that we see next year isn't going to be the right pickup truck for every existing Ford F-150 buyer. It's just not. It's not going to happen. But the good news is it doesn't have to. It only has to work for a percentage of those people. Kyle is always the first one to bring up the fact that, and he has flat said it on this podcast many times that, electric work trucks don't work yet. With towing, with bringing heavy payloads. He's like, he said this many times, and he's tested this. A pickup truck with 150 with a 300 mile range if you have a full load in the back and you're towing it, you're lucky if you get 100 miles out of it. You'll lose 2/3 of your range and work trucks just can't be crippled by that. And for a lot of people, he's right. This Lightning is not going to work for a lot of contractors, especially in rural areas that need to travel long distance, that do a lot of towing. But the good news is it's going to work for a lot of people. So many people never tow anything with their pickup truck. Even contractors that use the pickup trucks, you use them, just hauling plywood, stuff like that. And this will absolutely work perfect for them. But, we still might be 3 or 4 more years after this launches away from an electric pickup truck solution that works for any type of work use, and it's not going to now. So don't be disappointed if it comes out and, it's not the right truck for everybody. It doesn't have to be.
It's a very good point. Hey, and the new factory, they said it will employ 300 new workers. So I'm thinking it's not going to be, like 100,000 units a year. It's probably looking, I don't know what it's going to be, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could still make, you could still make 500 trucks a week.
Sure.
And have a good first year. So am I right, Dom, you're the kind of expert on these things, that the batteries for the Mustang Mach-E are made in Poland by LG, and then they're shipped. Is it made in Mexico, that car?
It is.
And then so they ship the batteries from Europe, they go over to final assembly. So are we presuming LG are making the batteries for the Ford F-150?
I don't think so. I think it's SK Innovations.
I think it is SK.
Okay, cool. Okay, well they've got supply.
Oh yeah, and they're going to be. I believe they're building factories here in the U.S. So those cells should come from the U.S. If not right away, eventually, or very
that's
within
right,
next year or two. There's a whole part of that trade thing, right?
It was the SK and LG legal case, and it was going to impact the ID4 and the F-150. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, you reminded me. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, we're going to have a chance to talk about the F-150 Lightning, in the weeks to come for sure. So I just want to move on because we don't want to be too long today. Tom's on vacation. And he's already got a nice tan too. You can tell he's been out in the wind.
That's from like an 8-mile walk I took yesterday.
Nice.
up and down the coast. It was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
I love that coast too. Oh.
Wow.
So sticking with Ford for a moment, CEO Jim Farley dropped a hint of a future electric Bronco on Twitter this week. In response to someone asking him why Ford doesn't have an electric option for the Bronco, Farley replied, "Why do you think we don't?" Why do you think we don't? So implying that maybe they do. And so this exchange came just a couple days after someone had asked Mike Levine, that's Ford North America product manager, communications manager. He's pretty well known on Twitter. Someone asked him if they could eventually offer an electric version of the Bronco, to which he replied, "An electric Bronco would be amazing." So to me, at least, this all sounds very much like something is coming. Like these guys don't have to respond to randos on Twitter. So I think we'll hear something maybe before the end of the year, or even like before the end of the summer. Because let's see, I've already said publicly that the SUV that Ford is going to build on the Rivian platform will carry the Bronco name. So Tom, do you think it'll also have Lightning attached to it? Do you think we're going to have like a Bronco Lightning?
I don't know. I just, this doesn't surprise me when we hear things like this, because let's face it, guys, everything's getting electrified in the next, if it's not this product cycle, the following product cycle of that vehicle. So, I saw that. I didn't get too excited about it. It's kind of like, of course it's going to be electrified, and it'll be an awesome vehicle at that. It's kind of like a smaller version of the Hummer, EV. Maybe I'm still not, and as I said, I've been away on vacation. I'm not 100% clear on the F-150 Lightning name. Is it always going to be Lightning, all the F-150s, or is that going to be like a trim level, like like the Raptor? Do we have 100% clarity on that the trucks are all going to be called the Lightning, or will that be like a high performance version?
I think the electric ones will be called the Lightning.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
but it's pretty much like the other F-150s. I think it's going to be like a conventional truck. It's not going to have any, like the Rivian is slightly smaller than a full-size truck, and the Cybertruck has got those weird bed things going on that you couldn't put like a typical like camper back on it. So this is going to be like more of conventional pickup truck, I believe.
Yeah, and that's just going to be the standard name Lightning on all of them. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So this Bronco, hey Martin, if you look on the show notes, I have highlighted in green little link below that there. If you could show us. So we had a little a render about a year ago. So the orange Bronco that we're just showing on the screen is probably not the style of the electric Bronco that's coming. I think it's going to be more they call the Bronco Sport. So picture the Rivian like R1S with like with a Bronco face on it. Yeah, kind of sort of like that. Yeah.
I like the look of that. I mean, we don't get this vehicle here, but I've seen Bronco videos in the US and on our sister channel, Motor One. If they make something, it's hundreds of thousands of views. So I can appreciate this is a big deal for you guys. Am I fair? Or is there just lots of interest on YouTube about this vehicle? Because it seems like people go wild over it if there's speculation of new models.
Right. Well, the Bronco's a big deal anyway. That's a home run for Ford, and so
that's what I mean. Like, so we don't have the Bronco here, so I'm saying is that model itself?
Oh yeah.
Like the YouTube videos of anything Bronco seem to be huge. So
yeah,
it seems to be, but I don't have any reference point for it.
And I think Ford is having problems making them too, right? With the chip shortages, did they shut that down, Laycee? Do you know?
Yeah, they did. I read that recently that they shut that down.
Okay.
Wow.
Right. And I remember visiting the Ford dealer like a few months ago to test drive the Mach-E, and they were like crying that they couldn't get Broncos to sell. And people were coming in because they had had the one on the demonstrator on the lot, and people are coming in, but they can't sell them any.
They've got plenty of the Bronco Sports, the smaller version of the Broncos. They can't give them away. Everybody was holding on, waiting for the real Bronco. And the dealerships that I've visited all have a ton of the little Bronco Sports, and they're already marking them down a lot, so you can get a great deal on one if you're looking for
like the orange one,
compact SUV,
like the orange one we were just showing, because that's the one I liked. It's more like a Wrangler 2-door, take the doors off kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's the full size Bronco that you saw.
Okay,
the Bronco Sport is this smaller version of it that came out already. That came out months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I mean, obviously, I'm in Michigan. I'm in Ford country, but I've seen so many Bronco Sports out here. It's crazy. It's like every time I go out to drive, I see one. So, they're taking off really well. The thing about the, going electric on the, it would make sense to me because obviously, as I'm sure you guys know, and some of you of the audience know, that Ford was planning to do a Lincoln partnership with Rivian. So, and they canceled it, and I was kind of like, oh man, bummed because, give some attention to Lincoln because I just feel like, they need it. But, maybe the decision was to shift from the Lincoln to, we've got Bronco down the pipeline pretty far. Maybe we shifted over to the attention over to, so maybe they'll use their collaboration with Rivian in order to use that on the Bronco Sport, which would make sense because they were already going to do it on a smaller, SUV type chassis. So who knows? But that was my idea, was like, oh, okay, well, maybe since they're canceling it from the Lincoln perspective, that they might do it with Bronco. So.
Right. Hey, so that was just my speculation that the electric Bronco would be based on the Rivian platform. Does everyone else think
obvious,
that's what's...
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, at least.
Yeah. Okay.
Off-road and off-road.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to another thing here. So there's right. So yeah, one last bit of Ford news. They are branding their over-the-air update service. They're calling it Power Up. It sounds very video game-like, of course. And interestingly enough, they mentioned they'll be using it to add some simple gaming to the Mach-E, as well as some touchscreen drawing. That's something that Tesla already has, of course. Both very awesome OTA updates, touchscreen drawing, and games. And not just simple games either, of course, in the Tesla. Still, though, it's good to see this kind of capability come into the Ford products. They say they've already updated over 100,000 vehicles with this, over-the-air power-up thing. And that's all the Mustang Mach-E's, but it's also on their the regular Ford F-150 as well. They say Ford power-up enhancements include what's planned to be the industry's broadest rollout of the new, more seamless Amazon Alexa built-in hands-free experience, offering complimentary access to key features for up to 3 years. I guess then you'll pay after that. Companies plan to work together to deliver enhanced features and a new commercial service over the next 6 years. So, Laycee, you're a Tesla owner. So how much do you value its OTA capability, or do you stress about them changing things that you like and then...
No, I love it. I think it's crucial. I love the convenience of it, and it just, it connects right while I'm parked right in my driveway. It connects to Wi-Fi, and it does what it needs to do. And, I absolutely love the over-the-air updates features. What kind of interests me on this news about them partnering with Amazon, which is also like, yeah, of course, because, Rivian has their partnership with Amazon. So you could see that there's some carryover there probably. But Ford had just announced recently that they were going to switch to Google OS, like we were talking about with the Polestar that has. So that'll be interesting to me to see, how that moves on in the future. It's great that they'll have those partners, and it says, that it will be for Sync 4. So what are they going to do when they switch to Google OS? Will that just die? What's gonna happen?
Yeah, I mean, I like the integration with the Amazon devices. The Amazon devices are a bigger deal here than in terms of the market size. I think the Google Home devices do better in the States. So they are more, Amazon has more market dominance over here with their home speakers. And I've got one in every room. And what's missing in my life is to then just be able to get into the car and say, hey, add this to my shopping list, text, send a message, and all the things that you would normally do with that. So, there are solutions. I mean, I could get add-on boxes. I could use my mobile phone. But if it's a really native experience, I can get in the car and say, hey, play my driving playlist. And it fully works with that because that's the ecosystem I'm in. Then I think that's brilliant. And I think more car makers need to be doing this in terms of the smart devices that we have in our home and extending out onto the road as well, but also vice versa. Like I want to be out I want to walk around my house and say, hey, what's my state of charge? And again, there might be a hack that I can do at the minute, but that should all be native and then be, oh, hey, so start charging or get my car ready for 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Right.
I'd love that to be in place.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Some chargers, the third-party EVSE allow you to do that now, Martin. Like the NLX Juice Box, the ChargePoint Home, the Wall Box. You can say, hey, Alexa, what's my state of charge? Or Alexa, schedule charging for 10 p.m. tonight, or something like that. So but that's not integrated into the car. That's the charging solution.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Cool.
So you just have to have your car really plugged in and deal with Alexa to have it. Okay.
Yep. You could ask, how many miles of range has it added if you're kind of waiting for it to hit a certain state of charge, so you can leave, So
cool.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Electrify Home is also going to have. They're going to have both of them, Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa. So they're starting. It's just becoming like a normal thing that you're going to be able to talk to all your. And I love that. Like, yes, you already know all this information about me. Please give me more information and help me, make my life more convenient.
As long as Google and Alexa don't start talking at each other, because that would be just crazy.
They're fighting.
Who can have like pod bay doors opening or something. So let's move on a little bit. So Subaru has announced the Solterra will be its first all-electric vehicle. Here's how they introduced it. The next generation of Subaru SUV capability has a name, Solterra. The 2023 Subaru Solterra, which was named by combining the Latin words for sun and earth, is built on the Subaru Global Platform, a new all-electric vehicle architecture. So while Subaru refers to this platform as the Subaru Global Platform, it is really it's the ETNGA, the electric Toyota New Global Architecture. Subaru is now officially part of the Toyota Motor Group. I believe that Toyota has like a 20% share in the company, and it's as of this year, it's so officially a part of it. So it is expected that the Solterra will share its powertrain and much of its structure with the Toyota BZ4X, and that's Toyota's. We just talked about it a couple weeks ago. Toyota's all-electric crossover coming. That's pretty exciting. So as you can see, we got this slide-over video. That's the BZ4X there, and then the teaser slide it over. Yeah, and if I tried to lighten up that image, and the Subaru wasn't playing around. There's nothing below. There's no details under the black there that you can find. So, Laycee, what do you think of the prospect of an electric Subaru? Do you like what you see here?
Yes, I love Subaru, so I'm just like finally glad that, I mean, they're still dragging their heels, I feel, but I mean, I'm really excited for them to come out with an EV product. I just think it's a natural fit, and all of their marketing is similar to, Bronco and Rivian, where it's the outdoor adventure. And with the pandemic, so many more people were spending time outdoors and just enjoying nature. And I think people want to utilize that to be able to go off-road and really kick into those all-wheel drive systems and get out in nature. And so I just think I'm really excited for this, even if it's a shared platform. Do what you got to do. Give me that Subaru EV.
Okay. So do you think there's a lot of brand loyalty to Subaru?
I think it's a natural fit. Yeah, I think they've had that cross-track hybrid, and they've done the hybrid technology, and people that love nature naturally. There's a lot of them that they believe in climate change and they want to do better for the environment. So I just think it's a really great fit with that lifestyle.
Right on. Tom, do you have some thoughts about the Subaru Solterra?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Subaru is kind of late to the game. They're a relatively small automaker. Yeah. They don't have the money to invest billions into electrification. So, the same could be said with Mazda. They're not in a position like a Toyota or a Volkswagen Group or a Ford to really just pour tons of money into R&D. So we kind of saw this coming, especially with the Toyota partnership. Great. I'm me, I've said this many times on the podcast. I don't get too excited about silhouettes of concepts of cars that's coming in a few years. Yeah. I want to touch it and feel it and really check out the specs before I comment a lot on it. So no surprise, they have to produce an electric car at some point. Great on you. I like Subaru as a brand, but I'm not going to get too excited about it yet. Let's see what it has to offer. And hopefully this is just the first of many from Subaru.
So I'm not a big fan of the Toyota styling on the BZ4X personally. So I'm really hoping that Subaru kind of gets that part together a little bit, especially like the interior. But that's like a very subjective thing, of course. Martin.
I'm sure it'll have Subaru design language and stuff in it. I would assume that at least. You really can't tell much from the silhouette. Let's see.
Right. Is Subaru? Do they have Subarus in UK?
Yeah, best thing they did was to move the brand into that kind of slightly jacked up 4-wheel drive, slightly rugged, but still okay to drive Monday to Friday sort of thing they did with the brand whenever that was, in like 90s or whenever that was. And it was a smart move because before then they were kind of unrecognized and not doing so well. So yeah, I mean, they're here, not huge, same as you.
Yeah. Personally, I really like Subaru as a brand, and we had a 1970. My family had like a 1978 little Subaru wagon and I just love driving that thing. Just put it in 4-wheel drive. It would launch it wouldn't go very quick fast, and it was like driving a little like wood box or something. But
yeah. I mean, if they can, I know money and budgets are tight, but if they can tap into that heritage. World Rallycross is going electric. Well, sure. In terms of the feeder series, WRX2 is electric this year, but then the main World Rallycross is electric next year. If they can make some money available to tap into that WRX kind of Subaru kind of crazy, insane performance thing, which which electric will be, just because it's electric, it's going to be quick. Then they could be onto a winner there. But it has to be more than a rebadge Toyota. It has to be more than a rebadging. Okay, and it will be, and I think it will be.
Yeah. I don't know. So Fully Electric asks on YouTube in the chat, under the skin, it will still be a Toyota, no? And I think it's pretty much. I don't know. I see like pretty much badge engineering. Maybe they'll have some like the fascia will be slightly different. But
if they do that, it'd be a real shame. It'd be a real shame if they do. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Subaru's brand loyalty has to overcome that little thing. It's like the sports car they had with Toyota, the BRZ. Was it BRZ?
Yeah.
I don't know. They have like that. Yeah, maybe even more than that. I don't know much about gas cars. But,
I would expect it to be a Toyota powertrain.
right. I think it's going to be the same. It's just a question of how many body panels it shares. I think mostly it'll share like all of the body panels, but
all Subaru's all-wheel drive is going to be implemented. So
right. Okay, so let's move on. Mercedes already has a luxury minivan called the EQV, and now it is showing off a concept of a new one called the EQT. This one will be smaller and more affordable. It is not electric from the ground up, so there will be combustion versions of this as well. This appears to be Mercedes' version of the Renault Kangoo. Am I pronouncing that right, Martin?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Kangoo, okay, because we don't get that over here.
And you don't want it.
Oh no! But you're a Renault owner, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't want a Kangoo. I mean, you don't really want an MPV, if I'm honest with you, do you really? Like, if you're deciding what to buy as a car, you don't really want well, we call them MPVs and you'd call them minivans. But no one lusts after one of these. No one's like, one day I'll have a Renault Scenic or a Citroen Picasso or a Kangoo or a
Picasso. That sounds good. I want a Citroen Picasso.
No, you really don't. Or a Fiat,
it sounds so cool though.
A Fiat Multipla. Like,
right. Oh yeah, well that's a classic. So the Kangoo E-Tech Electric has a 44 kilowatt hour battery, and that's what we expect to see here. In the Inside EVs post, there's a photo of the dash, and it appears as though it will get a range of 265 kilometers or 165 miles, but that hasn't really been announced yet. That's less, I think, than we'd like to see, but it should also help keep it more affordable. So it's a more attainable vehicle. The EQT will come in 2 different wheelbase lengths, with the longer one having a third row option. So that's important for families. So Martin, this is obviously just for Europeans. Does it appeal to you aside from the whole minivan factor, or would you prefer to put like pretensions aside, save some bucks, or just buy the Renault version?
No, look, actually, this would fit into my life perfectly because nobody wants to own a minivan, but as all parents know, babies and children exist for the sole reason to smush food into the only nice things you own, and that includes cars. And so if you're going to have kids for the first few years of their life, you may as well own one of these because it's going to be wrecked. But if you want to do it in a way that doesn't feel terrible, get one of these. Okay, so bad points, 100-ish brake horsepower, 45 kilowatt hour battery. Neither of those are good enough to put a Mercedes badge on the front of it. But this is they'll take the concept car, has leather and stuff inside. That won't be there. That'll just be hard wearing fabric. But actually, if you want this kind of thing that's going to take the kids to school and to football practice on a Saturday morning, but actually not make you want to lose the will to live every time you drive it, it would be very cool to own a Mercedes car like this. It would. And look, how much battery do you really need over here? Like, we're not doing. I was watching I was talking to the guys at our sister channel motor1.com, and they like one of the guys just did a 2,500 mile road trip, and it's just like Kyle does, like it was just a kind of a matter of fact thing. Like, we don't do that over here. You drive 2,500 miles and I don't know where you'd end up. You can't go that far. So a smaller battery does make sense. I still think it's about 20 kilowatt hours too small for a vehicle like this. But yeah, totally interests me. Totally useful and practical and aspirational for people who want a vehicle that does a job in your life. But because the front doors will be hinged, and the side doors, both side doors are sliders. So yeah, I mean, really, really, really intriguing if they can make this a reasonable price point, because the van, the EQV, with its big 100 kilowatt hour battery, is stupidly priced. Like, you've really got like 80 grand or something. You've really got to want to own one if you're a fancy hotel and you want to do shuttles for your guests, and you can go, we're electric now, and make that investment. But if you're looking for a return, you're never going to buy that vehicle. So please make this a good price, and absolutely, I'll be interested.
So, hey, Laycee, do you think Renault should, you think Mercedes should bring this to the US? Is this something that you think we could get any traction over here?
You
Not
know,
unless you double the battery size.
yeah, the range is what
Yeah.
will, if it really is going to be based on that 44 kilowatt hour battery, it's like, yeah, I probably wouldn't even bother. I mean, like BMW didn't bring the iX3 over here because the range. I mean, like it only hit 200 miles. And so, yeah, I just feel like if you're going to get into a market like that, I mean, at least a small SUV segment is like booming over here, but minivans, I mean, you got to have something a little bit more compelling on the range side.
Yeah.
I do like the styling and everything. But yeah, some of the things in the concept, I'm just like, oh, that's definitely not practical. The white interior and those huge 21-inch wheels that are available. It's like, no.
I did like the electric skateboard though. It goes in the back.
Well, so that was other interesting that I thought is they used Tony Hawk as a spokesperson. Did you see that little like marketing clip ad? I thought that was really interesting. Is that they had a whole little like little commercial that they ran with Tony Hawk. Okay. And you know, he's riding around on the electric skateboard. So I was at first I was like, what's with the electric skateboard? Yeah, I get maybe you have kids and stuff like that. Then they threw Tony Hawk in there and he driving away in it. I'm like, well, he doesn't really have like anyone going with him or anything. So use case, I don't know if this is extremely practical. So it kind of like threw me for a loop, but I thought it was kind of cool. You're bringing you know, at this point, Tony Hawk's a little bit, you know, an older dude, but when, you know, me growing up was like, he was awesome, you know, so I guess it's like playing to my demographic. Like, you know, most of my friends have kids. I don't have any kids. I don't plan to have kids, but 33. And, you know, this is the age where he's the cool guy and he's driving this EQT. It is QT. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a interesting marketing standpoint.
Well, there's the marketing. Tony Hawk's all grown up now. He's got kids that are mashing the food in every crevice of the car.
Interior.
So it's time for him to trade in his Porsche and go with the electric minivan.
There you go.
Hey, so speaking of Porsche,
segue. Hey.
So this is pretty exciting. The electric version of the Porsche Macan has begun road testing. The Macan is a crossover SUV, a bit smaller than the Porsche Cayenne, and it's a big seller. They've been working on this for 4 years already. A lot of aerodynamic works and just planning going into it so far. But now they're about to put real road miles on it, 1.9 million miles worth, or about 3 million kilometers. The electric version is going to be built on the PPE platform that Audi and Porsche will share. We've already, of course, seen the very lovely Audi A6 e-tron concept that will use it as well. So that's the sedan, and this is definitely not. It's a very different situation from the Porsche Taycan and Audi e-tron GT thing, where they both share the J1 platform and a similar shape. So the PPE platform has an 800 volt architecture and will use high energy density batteries. So expect very decent range and very good fast charging. I have to imagine the electric Macan Turbo or Turbo S will outperform the current Macan Turbo. That's the spiciest version of it available today. It has like 424 horsepower and a 4.3 second 0 to 60 time. So it's got to compete with the Tesla Model Y, which is 3.5 seconds 0 to 60. I mean, it's got to have that sports car capability. So, Laycee, when this comes out in 2023, would you be tempted to take it over a Tesla Model Y, or even if it was like a bit more expensive?
Honestly, it's just like charging infrastructure is such key. So, I mean, we'll have to see where it's at that point. You know, I think over the next few years, it'll be really telling. I think these charging infrastructure companies, obviously with a big investment with the new administration, there are going to be a lot of changes, and hopefully they'll move along fairly quickly. But already see a lot of action being taken to kind of solve those problems. So at that point, I'll have to make the decision. I mean, yes, Porsche makes beautiful cars. Their interiors are always really great quality, and so I think it's going to still do well, and that segment obviously is huge. So it'll be compelling, I think, for sure. I just don't know 100% at that point. And also, obviously, you guys know Model Y will probably have some new things to be thrown at it as well over the next couple of years. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I still think it's going to be, obviously, the more the merrier when it comes to EVs to me. There is going to be some people that it's not fit for, but overall they need to electrify. So bring it on. I think it'll be a nice car.
Tom.
Yeah, so I remember when I was talking to some Porsche representatives when the Mission E concept just came out years ago. And one of them told me off the record, he said, and the next one's going to be the Macan. And I said, you know what? Switch that. Bring out the Macan, the all-electric Macan first. Not that I didn't want to see the Mission E, but just because it wasn't even Taycan at the time. But I mean, let's face it, here in the U.S., the market, everyone's buying these crossovers and SUVs.
Right.
And I think the Macan's going to do it really well. It fits, size-wise, it's kind of like in between an Audi Q4 and an Audi e-tron. So it's not quite as big as the e-tron. I think it's going to do really well. I have total faith in Porsche after driving the Taycan as much as I have, that the vehicle is going to really represent the brand. I think we were all curious when Porsche brought out their first electric vehicle, if they were just going to make, it's an electric vehicle, but it's not a Porsche. And now they've proven that's not the case. The Taycan is a thoroughbred Porsche. It may be the best Porsche I've ever driven, and I've driven nearly all the recent year Porsches, and I've owned Porsches in the past. So, I have the full confidence that they're going to nail this after seeing what they did with the Taycan, and I think it's going to do well.
Yeah, it looks like a great size. I wish they would give it its own name. Maybe just set it apart from the Macan, like make that its thing, and then make this like if they call it the E-Macan, I'm going to be like really disappointed. I hate when they stick an E on something. It's like, here you go.
Well, they are going to continue making the gas version of the Macan, so they kind of have to use the same name unless they gave it all different sheet metal, and that would raise the price and everything. So I understand why.
I think they have a new generation of the Macan coming out too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, a couple more things before we head out. So sticking with Porsche, there's a bit of interesting news out. The long-rumored electric Porsche Boxster concept should be making an appearance sometime soon. That's great news for fans of convertible sports cars, which is a niche that's not really been filled yet, unless you want to call like the smart EV cabrio convertible. I know Kyle would, but he's not here today, so he's automatically overruled. In any case, they're saying that this will be on a different platform than the Taycan or the electric Macan. So it's quite unlikely to be on the Volkswagen MEB platform. So that leaves the SSP platform. So all these things, which is supposed to replace actually the MEB at Volkswagen Group, with I believe the Audi Artemis project getting first dibs on it. So unfortunately, though, that's only coming out in 2026. The Audi product. So if the electric Boxster is really going to use the SSP, it seems like a long way off. I don't know. Heck, it might even have solid state batteries by the time it gets here. They have that deal with QuantumScape, and they seem to move it along with their technology, and that's one of the things about the Volkswagen Group that I'm really looking forward to, the solid state battery. So Tom, what do you?
Do they still sell the Boxster in the US? Is that a car that you can get still?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I mean, I don't think it sells. Convertibles aren't like a huge seller. Like they're not like I don't know. They were like so like in the in 60s and 70s, and it was like convertible was like a thing, like a big thing, but not so much anymore. I don't think. I love them, but.
Well, they're still big in the warm weather areas, Florida, California, but for the rest of the country, they don't sell too many of them. And that picture we have up there looks exactly like my Boxster. I had a 2000 Boxster, silver with the burnt orange interior. So that was that brings back some memories. Loved that car. Would definitely buy an electric version if I could afford it now. I was single back then, and had a little bit more disposable income.
Right.
But it was a fantastic car, and would love to have an all-electric Boxster.
So what do you think of this timeline, Tom? Do you think they risk another automaker swooping in and owning this space before they actually begin production?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, again, like I said, I haven't been up in the news this week because I've been away for a few days. Are they locked into that timeline, or are we just guessing that's where it's going to come, Tom?
I mean, I was looking at the, because I'm kind of guessing it's the SSP platform because our information is that it's going to be on something different than the other one. So I mean, that's the only one I could think of.
Well, I'll try to get some clarity or some. I know they won't lock it down, but
right.
I'll try to get some clarity from Porsche. Hopefully, it's sooner than that. Hopefully, we're talking before 2025. But let's see. As a matter of fact, that as we're doing this podcast, I just got an email from Porsche, and I'm going to be getting the Cross Turismo this week.
Hey.
So looking forward to reporting on that, possibly on next week's podcast. I don't have the date locked down. I might just get it next Friday, but I'm psyched about that. I think I'm going to be one of the first people here up in the Northeast because it just arrived at their Porsche facility. So
nice.
That should be a fun week.
All right, that's awesome. All right, so before we head out, finally the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is going to have its virtual North American premiere on May 24th. So that's the Monday after next. It comes to the US this fall, supposedly. So we should expect pre-orders to open here and hopefully learn more about the price. So that's a pretty exciting vehicle for a lot of us. Hyundai also announced it has plans to invest $7.4 billion in the US by 2025 to manufacture electric vehicles here. In fact, it will start EV production here by 2022. That's next year. I have to imagine it will be the Ioniq 5, and possibly the Kia EV6, but they don't explicitly say which vehicles. So, Laycee, the Ioniq 5 has made a pretty big impression, or a pretty good impression so far. So I just want to get your take on what do you think of it? Is it worthy of the hype?
I think so. I've heard also it's going to be really efficient, which is great. I know to most people it's not really going to be too practical with the bi-directional charging thing, but what I was thinking immediately is like, sweet, I can charge the Sur-Ron.
Right.
But so like little things like that as people adopt more of that EV lifestyle, just like that, it's like, yes, I can charge my electric bike out when I'm
right.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. This picture is perfect. It's speaking to me so well.
Right. Have a little light set up. Man, that'd be a great campground.
That's going to be this weekend. That's me. So yeah, I really love the design. I think they're hitting a pretty reasonable range and efficiency targets, and I really like what they're doing. I mean, I've always thought that Hyundai's been doing a really great job in Kia with electric cars, considering, and I don't think they get talked about enough. So I'm really looking forward to, this product in particular. I think they're hitting all the marks that, I think that they're expected to hit.
Right. I think it's surprising them maybe how popular or how well it's landed with the public. I mean, I think they're going to be production constrained for a ways. I don't know. Tom, did you want to say anything about this before we head out?
No, I mean, I just love what Hyundai and Kia are doing. I think other than the Volkswagen Group, they're probably the most committed to really transitioning their entire brands, which is fantastic. And I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Look at these two vehicles. I know we haven't driven them yet, but these are not half-baked attempts. These are things that they went to the drawing board, started with a clean sheet of paper, and said, how do we move the needle and make electric vehicles that much better than what is available today? And I give them a lot of credit. I can't wait to get behind the wheel of both of these EVs. So
right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, no, and I agree with you about being production constrained. We're already seeing that now when they're taking advanced orders, I think in Europe, and they're going to sell every single one of these that they can make.
What kind of price point do you think it needs to hit to really? What do you think is appropriate for this? Like $40,000 to start? Yeah,
probably in the low to mid 40s.
Okay, yeah, that's kind kind of where I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as low as 40 grand. I don't think this is going to have a 39.9 MSRP on it. I think it's probably going to be around 44.9, somewhere around there. But federal tax incentive, local incentives. Here in New Jersey, we get $5,000 cash on the hood, $7,500 federal tax credit. I mean, even if it's 50,000, it comes down into the high 30s. So it's it's going to be a compelling offering.
Right. How does that compare with the Tesla Model Y, like a similar range version? But
they're different. Will there be cross shopping? Yeah, there'll be a lot of cross shopping with these vehicles. And right. We still haven't driven it. But it's like the first vehicle that will give the Model Y a fight with regards to tech, like charging. Like the Mustang Mach-E is a great car. So is the Volkswagen ID, but there are definitely areas where both those manufacturers come up short on what Tesla's doing with the speed of charging and efficiency and things like that. Not to take anything away, I think the Mustang Mach-E and the ID4 are great electric vehicles. I think people are going to love them. But Hyundai's always made incredibly efficient vehicles, like Tesla has. And now they stepped it up a notch with the speed of charging. 80% charged, and was it 18 minutes?
Yeah,
that's the Mach-E, for instance,
those are some good numbers.
80% charged in 52 minutes. So there's a huge gap in there, and
right.
But like I've said on many of our shows, that shouldn't stop many people that are interested in the Mach-E's, because 90% of your charging is going to be done at home. This is when you're on road trips, and which doesn't happen it depends on your use case. If you're Laycee and you drive all over the country, you might want to really look at EVs that have a more robust charging network, like the Model 3 or Model Y, and also that charge really quickly, like the Ioniq 5 and the Kia will. So it's good to see them moving the needle. They didn't just go out and do what everybody else is doing and put a Hyundai badge on it. They thought outside the box, which I'm excited to see.
Right on. All right. So ready to get back to the beach?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that brings us to the end of our show. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and I'd like to thank Laycee for joining us here on the panel. If you have any comments about any of the topics on today's show, you can comment on the Inside EVs podcast post, the YouTube comment section, or on the Inside EVs forum podcast thread. If you like the show, please give us a thumbs up if you're watching us on YouTube, or a rating if you're listening on another platform. Don't forget, you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. Tom Malogney is at Tomolog. Martin Lee is at EV News Daily. Laycee is at Miss Go Electric, and I'm at Dominic_Y. Kyle should be back from driving electric motorcycles across Montana next week. So click subscribe and tap that bell icon for notifications, and we'll see you then. Ciao.